I've been talking a lot on here lately about the cognitive science behind how people learn to read and vocabulary and fluency and morphology and explicit instruction and phonics and phonemic awareness. And I thought I'd take a second just to introduce myself and how I got to this point. How far back to go? I was born in 1984. No, I'm just kidding. But I always wanted to be a teacher from as early as I can remember. So when I went to university, I decided to major in English with a minor in history so that I had two teachables to teach in high school. And when I finished at Western, I made a big deal about leaving Canada. I'm from a small town in Ontario, so I said I was going to travel and see the world, and I had secured a job teaching in Japan for a year. That went really badly. A company that I was teaching with that had been in existence for decades went under. I never got paid. My apartment rent hadn't been paid in like 6 months before I got there. I remember being under an overpass, stealing internet to try to call home. Everybody was worried, and I didn't have a credit card or money to get home, and I didn't want to ask my parents since I made such a big deal about leaving. So I then went to South Korea because they paid teachers to fly there and work. So I finished the year there, and it was an amazing experience. I came back to Ontario to go to OISE at University of Toronto for Teachers College, which was 1 year at the time. And when I finished that, I moved to England to teach at a city public school for 2 years, and I taught high school English. And it was really difficult. I think if you're a teacher who's ever gone to a different country to teach, especially as a new teacher where you're trying to get to grips with teaching and then also learn a different education system in an underfunded school, it's hard. So 2 years of that, after that, I moved and I began working at an American private school in England, and it was a really completely different experience than my last 2 years, and really aspirational in terms of what education could do when it's well funded. And again, the experiences could not be more different. I remember I was in grade 4, and the kids were bringing in pictures from home to build a quilt square that they were going to hang in the hallway, and one student forgot her pictures, so she asked the teachers to Google her parents, and we did. And the first picture that comes up is her dad doing the ice bucket challenge with Tom Cruise. Anyway, I started to get homesick in about 2015, moved back to Ontario, and then began teaching high school English, and then I worked as a special education teacher in elementary schools. And during that time, I had two children. They're 5 and 3 now, James and Ollie, two boys. And I began to have difficulties beyond what I thought was normal. And since I was working in special education at the time, I was researching ADHD for a student to understand the academic implications. And I realized ADHD was not what I thought it was. And a lot of the symptoms of ADHD, like hyperfixation and rejection